Well, hello friends. It's that time again. It's staff appraisal. And we're doing staff appraisal for the month of September. Let me first go through the non-teaching staff. Non-teaching staff, welcome. And I'd like you to turn to page 25. And we're going to be talking about your strengths. Let me just read the directions. The next 2 months, we will review and evaluate our own learning. This month, we will focus on our strengths. Then we will see how we can support each other. Now, I know that you've all got strengths. So I'd like you to take your pen now and write down what you recognize as the strength you have in your current role. It may be patience. It may be listening. It may be reflecting what someone has said to you. And it may be bookkeeping. It may be answering the telephone. What are your strengths? And then the next question, how could you lead others with that strength? I think sometimes we forget that God has given us these gifts so that we can share it with others or lead others. So please write that down. The next thing is to page 26. How does this strength add to my team? What goal did I achieve this year? And how will you maintain that goal? Now, one of the goals that I set out to do this year was to read more widely. And so I've been reading not just books associated with teaching and learning, but also other novels as well. And I was able to read some stories about missionaries, and I think, I love biographies. Just finished a biography about China and Amy Carmichael. And can I encourage you to just write down those goals that you've achieved? What spiritual goal did you achieve this year? Did you get to read a book of the Bible? Did you get to read a new book about Christian matters? Did you get to play around with a different biblical learning app on your technology? And then if that is a goal that you want to maintain, how are you going to maintain that? And any other achievements you've achieved this year that you didn't even know about, but this had happened. So that's the non-teaching staff. So at the end of this short video now, you might like to spend 10 minutes to start filling in those gaps in your book. Next, teaching staff. Hello, teaching staff. We're looking at page 29. Again, we're talking about strengths, but this time a strength according to the teaching descriptors. And you might say, teaching descriptors, but let me remind you that, ta-da, we have the Australian Professional Standards for Teachers. And one of the descriptors that you might have been working on is differentiation. I know some of you are doing some staff training in that. And that descriptor is 1.5.2. And let me read it. Develop teaching activities and incorporate differentiated strategies to meet the specific learning needs of students across the full range of abilities. Now, I know that most of you have been working on one of those goals from that page, and that might be the one you'd like to address. So how did that impact student learning? I'm hoping that that did make a big difference to the way the students were learning in your class when you start incorporating different strategies. And then again, how could you lead others in this area? It doesn't have to be a big task. It might be that you mention it at a staff meeting, a strategy that worked for you. And then next, page 30, what other goals did I achieve this year? Goal 1, 2, or 3. You might have only achieved one goal, but there's 3 there. For some of you might have addressed a few more. And then how will you maintain these goals? Now, if you didn't achieve all of them, you might like to put that goal that could be included for next year. And then page 31, other goals, leadership, subject-specific, professional growth. What other goals did you achieve this year? You might have learned a lot about Chromebooks, or you might have been to an in-service course on well-being. and you've got some new teaching strategies there. You might have learned a different way of assessing in your subject area. You might have gone to a conference on acquiring or equipping leaders. All of those things that you have done in your professional learning, I think should be addressed here. So that's the point of reflection. You'll probably need now maybe 5 to 10 minutes to write in this booklet. Please take that time in the staff meeting time to do that. Again, we'd like to remind you that your professional learning journal is not optional. It's actually a requirement that we require of all staff. I hope that you've been able to realise that it's beneficial, that we've been able to give you time for it, and that we are serious about our professional learning at the Pacific Group of Schools. And if there's any ideas that you have as a staff that you'd like to book some presenters or some training, please just drop me an email, and I'd love to include that in my planning for next year. Just like you're planning for next year, we're planning for next year too, and we want all of our professional learning at our conferences to be relevant to the situation that you're in. And I will see you next month or before.